Where do Manchester United go from here? Following the embarrassing loss to Spurs in the Europa League final, which concluded what can only be articulated as a horrendous season, arguably the worst in our history, there has been a lot of discussion surrounding the players, surrounding the manager, surrounding the ownership, and just the current state of affairs in general at Manchester United. And I'm here to give my 2 cents. Obviously, I'm going to start talking about the manager, but I'll get into other topics as the video progresses. And I don't know if there are enough superlatives that can accurately describe how much of an abject failure Ruben Amorim has been at Manchester United. And just a quick disclaimer before I go on, this isn't a Ruben Amorim out video, this isn't a Ruben Amorim in video, this is just an honest assessment from an honest Manchester United fan about our current manager. I think he has done so much wrong. The only thing I think he's done right is speaking well in press conferences. His team lineups, his decisions, the fact that a lot of people say he doesn't have his players and he doesn't have the desired profiles to play his system, which is cool. We all acknowledge that. But the decisions he's making to play his system anyways, and the players he's choosing to put in certain positions doesn't make sense. And I'll give examples. For example, in a Europa League final, there were at least 4 decisions he made with that starting lineup that are huge red flags. Number 1, dropping Alejandro Garnacho. Now, I think if he had dropped Alejandro Garnacho at the beginning of the season, in the middle of the season, and even towards the back end of the season, it would have made a lot of sense. It would have been a huge statement, and I would have backed it at the time because Garnacho's been awful this season. But he didn't. He persisted with Garnacho. He played Garnacho against Lyon. He played Garnacho against Bilbao. He played Garnacho in every league game in between those games and then played him, like the Bilbao game, which is what I just said. He played him in every big game for Manchester United and then drops him for the final. That to me makes no sense because your season hinges upon the success or failure of this game. Your reputation as a manager hinges upon the success or failure of this game. Certain signings and targets, transfer targets we were going for in the summer, hinges upon this game. And now suddenly you want to grow the balls to drop players that you should have dropped a long time ago. That makes no sense to me. I think starting Luke Shaw and Mason Mount was a mistake, considering they didn't have a lot of football to play throughout the season due to injuries. Yes, I understand they played against Chelsea, they played against West Ham, but those performances didn't really go that well as far as I'm concerned. So trying to experiment with players who have not been here all season and hoping that they will save you in the final, to me, is a huge red flag. Like, it's too late to be experimenting this season. I think he should have just gone with something else, anything else. I think Garnacho actually should have stayed in the lineup. Mount should have come off the bench. And as for Luke Shaw, having either one of Mount or Luke Shaw be on the bench, I don't think would have drastically changed the course of Manchester United's history. But I do think it would have made more logical sense to be less experimental with your lineup. So for me, I don't know. I'm not a huge fan of those two starting together, considering the lack of minutes they've had between the both of them. Starting the two of them, dropping Garnacho, red flags. And then, as if those 3 decisions wasn't bad enough, switching up the double pivot before your biggest game of the season. Why not switch it up against Chelsea? Why not switch it up against Brentford, against West Ham? Why not give it a run of games going into the final instead of just trying it out in the final and then not changing it until the 60th minute when you're already 1-0 down and the game is pretty much already gone? And these decisions, it's not just about the Europa League final, because I know that somebody who's watching me for the first time is probably going to call me reactionary. I can go back to other decisions. For example, his use of Kobbie Mainoo. His persistence with Kobbie Mainoo in the 8 is something I've been crying about all season. If you follow me on X, you know. I don't agree with him playing Kobbie Mainoo as a 6. Kobbie Mainoo reminds me of Paul Pogba, not in terms of his technical ability or his attributes as a player, but just the vibe I get from him when he plays in the 6. The way I feel watching Mainoo play in the 6 is exactly how I feel watching Paul play in the 6. He looks unhappy. He looks like he's been shackled. That flair, that spark, that razzle-dazzle that he has to his game is gone. It's completely mute when he's playing in a deeper position. Those players come to life when they are playing in more attacking positions, and I believe the same was true of Paul Pogba, the same is true of Kobbie Mainoo. I think Mainoo should be playing higher up the pitch, and I think Ruben Amorim does not know what to do with Kobbie Mainoo. He's completely misprofiled him because he's tried him in the 6 didn't work. He's tried him as a false nine, didn't work, and he never went back to that. He played him as a false nine, I believe, for half an hour or possibly half of a game, and then switched it up very quickly at halftime and didn't even give the experiment enough time. And he just persisted with him in the six before he got injured. So that was a huge red flag. The way he uses Amad Diallo is a huge red flag as well. I think Amad Diallo's best position so far this season is the wing-back position. Not just because of how Amad Diallo has performed on an individual level, he's been good, but also because of how he helps the team. When Ahmed plays at the wing-back position, for the first time in a long time, it looks like Manchester United actually have an outlet on that right-hand side. And it's a shame that Luke Shaw wasn't fit for the season, because could you imagine having Luke Shaw on the left and Amad Diallo on the right in a back four or even in a back five, and they're both just working the channels, and we have two sides where we're capable of making things happen? Suddenly we're a very dangerous team. But, unfortunately Shaw hasn't been available. Even then, why not persist with Amad Diallo at wing-back? Why bring him back into the 10 for the final? I don't understand. Playing Mazraoui is so pragmatic. Mazraoui cannot play in the wing-back position. He doesn't give us anything going forward. You have to play Amad Diallo there if you want somebody who's going to contribute going forward. He didn't. He plays Mazraoui there. In the final, he didn't even play Mazraoui there leading up to the final. He waited till the final to experiment with Mazraoui at wing-back again. It does not make sense. It does not make sense. I could go on. The fact that he waited till Patrick Dorgu's fourth or fifth game to play him in the left wing-back position because he was still persisting with Delo out on the left, and he cost us some crucial points in that period of time. There's so many tactical decisions where I look at Ruben Amorim and I say, dude, I know you don't have your players. I'm not judging you based on the fact that you don't have your own players. I'm judging you based on what you're doing in the meantime. You can't walk into a job and then be exonerated from criticism because you haven't hired all the staff that work in that department specifically. There's no such thing in the real world. I cannot show up to a job and be like, don't judge my performance as your employee for the next 6 months because I don't have any of my staff members. None of these people that are here were hired by me. So therefore, if they mess up, I'm not responsible as their leader. What? That's not how leadership works. You take accountability for your team from day one. You win together, you lose together. So even though we apply the context that you've only been here for a short time, it doesn't exonerate you from finishing 16th in the league. It doesn't excuse you from taking accountability for that. There's just so much, but I don't want this to seem like a Ruben Amorim video, so I'll move on. Let's talk about the players, because Rasmus Højlund should never play for Manchester United ever again. Him starting every week feels like a disrespect. It feels like somebody's spitting in my face and taking the food right out of my mouth as I'm chewing it and just throwing it on the floor. He should not have the privilege of representing this great institution, and he should be banished to the shadow realm. Bruno Fernandes, I can't believe people are actually debating whether or not this guy is a club legend. A legend is an icon. A legend is somebody who defines eras. It's somebody who changes the trajectory of a club. It's somebody who, long after they've retired, you tell your nieces and nephews, your grandchildren, you tell new friends that you make along the way, people that you meet, how great this individual was and how moments in their career are edged into your brain forever because they changed how you felt about the game. They changed how you felt about the club that you love. That's what legends do. Legends make you fall in love with the game. Bruno Fernandes is a very good player and he's been a good servant for Manchester United. He's not a legend. How many performances has Bruno Fernandes had where Manchester United's season has hinged upon it and he's delivered? And let me be clear, before you answer that question, I'm not talking about games against the Big Six. I'm not talking about quarterfinals or round of 16 games. I'm talking about finals. I'm talking about league games where we can look back on it and say the reason why Manchester United went on an amazing title run or went on to win the Champions League or went on to do this amazing thing that changed the course of the club's history is because of Bruno Fernandes. That performance, that game where he grabbed the game by the scruff of the neck is the reason why this manager didn't get sacked. This manager was going to get sacked and then Bruno said, nah, and turned it around. How many performances has Bruno had like that really to qualify him the title of being a legend? The answer is not many. I can't think of any. I can think of a lot of good Bruno performances, but none of them are ones that I'm going to tell my grandkids about because they didn't lead to anything. So let's be real, man. He was a ghost in the final. Anyways, so many players didn't turn up. I believe our back three in the final was Luke Shaw, Harry Maguire, and Lenny Euro. Lenny Euro is the only player that I think had a decent performance. Everyone else was awful. Dorgu, awful. Mesraoui, awful. Mountain Shaw, awful. Casemiro, awful. Everyone was just bad. And again, even though I'm going in on the players, I don't believe these players are 16th place in the league bad. I do think some of them need to go. I do think Rasmus Højlund needs to go, but I don't think we can sell him. I think it's unethical to sell Rasmus Højlund. I think it should be a crime. It's really morally wrong that somebody should have to pay for Rasmus Højlund's services. He's nicking a living and should not. He should be free or less than free if there is such a thing. But everyone else, the Antonys of this world, we can sell them. Rashford, we can sell him. Garnacho, we should and can sell him. And I think we can get a decent price for him. Bruno Fernandes is an interesting one because I don't think I want to see him get sold. But at the same time, I look at his age. I look at the fact that he basically starts every game, every minute of every game. And I think that's going to catch up with him at some point. I also look at the fact that he's not getting any better. He's not getting any younger. And I just think to myself, is his market value going to go up any more than it is right now? I think if we sell him now and reinvest that money back into the team, that would actually be better than holding on to him, still trying to build a team around him when we know he's not going to be here 4 years from now. Or he's at least not going to be as fit, as productive, as potent as he is right now. If I'm thinking long term, selling Bruno now might actually be a really good idea, along with Antony, because I think Bruno and Antony are currently our two most sellable assets, because Antony's been doing really well at Bilbao and Bruno's been doing really well in a United shirt. We can get some serious money from them, coupled with the sales of Rashford, Garnacho, and Højlund. Clear those out, we've suddenly got a war chest to spend. We can get a new striker in. We can get a couple of 2 new 10s in. We can get an actual 6 or somebody to partner Ugarte in the pivot. Then we don't have to play Manu there anymore. We might even be able to get a wing back with the extra change. That's where my head is at as a Manchester United fan right now. That's what I'm looking at. The squad building this summer and whether or not the club keep Amorim. If they keep Amorim, I wouldn't be surprised, but I wouldn't be very, very happy with that decision. I'd be very nervous and reserved about that decision. And I'll be interested to see how they build the squad and what they do with Amorim going forward, how long they actually give him time, and if he's able to turn it around. Because if he does turn it around, I'll apologize and I'll happily back him. But right now, I'm just a little bit reserved. I'm on the fence when it comes to Ruben Amorim. If they sacked him, that would shock me, but it would not make me upset, because I think being 16th in the league with no trophies, any other top club in Europe would do it. And what would be more interesting to me and what would really be my focus is who they bring in after him. Because if they sack Ruben Amorim and bring in someone who's completely different tactically and idealistically, then for me, I am Ineos out immediately. Because it tells me that this Ruben Amorim project was not well thought out. And the continuity between managers is still not there. Meaning nothing has changed over the last 10 years. We sack LVG, we get Jose. We sack Jose, we get Oli. Where's the continuity? How is a manager supposed to come in and pick up from the previous manager when the tools don't suit what they're trying to do? You know, if the whole idea behind signing Amorim is that we're going to play a back three and we're going in this new direction, then I want to see some continuity. I want to see similar types of managers get hired until we stumble upon the right one. That's where I'm at as a United fan at the moment. If I don't see that, I'm turning on Ineos, I'm turning on Wilcox, I'm turning on Barada, I'm turning on everyone. Nobody's safe. Everyone can get it. So, there you go. Let me know what you think in the comments down below. It's been your boy Triple M. Leave a like on the video. Subscribe to the channel if you're new. Otherwise, enjoy the rest of your day. Peace!